So we just wanted to make a post, I guess, fight weekend analysis.
The whole weekend.
Well, I want to start off with the main topic at hand, which was Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, and really that whole Netflix card and some of the problems I had with it. Let's just start off by saying and addressing the elephant in the room. Mike Tyson, a 58-year-old man, should not be fighting Jake Paul, a 26-year-old man. I think he's 26.
I think he's 27.
He's
We're
27
both on
now.
our computers. We can fact check ourselves.
Anyway,
Yeah, he's 27.
so he's 27. Anyway, 58-year-old man should not be fighting a 27-year-old man in any universe. Okay.
Not in a boxing match.
It will. I guess you could argue for like a jiu-jitsu competition. For a more grappling heavy martial art, I could see that maybe. But even then, you still run into certain problems, and you're just putting your fighters in these bad positions. You should never have been sanctioned an official fight as a pro fight. And I just want to say this: if Jake Paul was actually fighting in that ring, he would have knocked out Mike Tyson.
See, a lot of people think it's the other way around.
Yeah,
Like that the fight was rigged for Jake, and that if Mike was fighting, he would have knocked Jake out. But I'm not gonna say either way because we're never gonna fucking know unless someone drops some receipts or something.
I will tell you right now. I think Mike Tyson wasn't throwing the fight. What I think happened is Mike Tyson injured his leg. He injured his knee in training. Didn't want to give up his side of the purse and still wanted to fight for the 20 million. Who would give up a $20 million purse? I mean, you have to be crazy to give up your purse in order to not fight that. And especially
when your net worth is only like $10 million.
And especially when you know somebody you're fighting respects you heavily and won't actually put your life in danger. And I just want to, say big, this is kind of weird. It's coming from me. Big props to Jake Paul for not leveling this dude the fuck out. Because if you level out a 58-year-old man who has coughed up blood before in recent years, he could have killed him. And thankfully he didn't. Because Mike Tyson may not still be around if he did.
It was just overall, instead of being a fucking slugfest like everyone thought it was going to be, it was a snooze fest. And
the connection issues. Let's talk about the connection issues real quick.
I only had one connection issue the whole time.
I had three, and they were all right before the most important fight, which was the Mike Tyson
I had
fight.
one literally as Mike was like walking out, and then that was the only one I had.
And another thing I want to say is when Mike Tyson was walking out, I don't know if anybody else saw this, but he sort of like stumbled.
He looked sad. He just looked sad. It was overall just a very sad night.
I think everybody knows that wasn't the fight we wanted.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. The Amanda Nunes fight versus Taylor, what's her first name?
No, it wasn't. It was Amanda Serrano.
Serrano, my bad.
Serrano versus Katie Taylor.
That was a good fight, and I think
that was a fantastic fight.
And I think the whole idea that you get deducted a point for headbutting your opponent, that was bullshit. They were both ducking their heads, and if you look at any fight with Joe Frazier in it, he ducks his head the whole time. That's how inside the pocket fighters fight. Some people call it dirty. That's just how they fight, and especially when you're opposite stance and you both do it, of course you're gonna headbutt each other, and especially when you're the taller person, you're gonna come out negative on that. But this is an actual boxing technique. People duck their heads down to block punches with their forehead in order to, and this comes from Dutch boxing. Bas Rutten talks about it in MMA. He purposely ducks his head down so that you hit him in the forehead, a stronger bone in your head, in an attempt to break your fist while you're fighting. Okay, so this is an actual fighting technique, and if you want to say, oh, this is dirty, it's not dirty. You're literally trying to hurt the other dude as much as possible, as fast as possible for money. I mean, that's just the nature of the sport.
I don't think it was that was a good fight. I don't think anything intentionally dirty was done. I think there was a lot of bitching from Serrano's team at the end of the fight, which is when you're on a global stage like that, is very unprofessional.
womp womp. Who cares? You lost the fight. Move on with your life.
Yeah. So I don't think that should have happened, but anything for views and clicks, whatever. But I'd say that fight was good. It was a good fight.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
Much better than the main event. I guess it was co-main. So.
Yeah, it was co-main. It was very entertaining. I liked the fight. Yes. Let's shout out
as what
Ramos and who's the other guy's
name? Barrios.
Yeah, Ramos and Barrios. They had a great fight too. Shout out those guys.
Also a very, very good fight.
Another title fight. They weren't a co-main though, which I think is kind of bullshit. They should have been a co-main. If it's a title fight, you need to make it a co-main.
Yeah.
And like I don't care what you say. It should be a co-main. It's a title fight. And yeah, make it a meme. We've never seen 3 co-mains before on one fight card, but
I mean, yeah, we've also never seen a 58-year-old Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul. So you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want at that point.
Exactly. And they did do record numbers. 72,000 people in person showed up to see that fight, and they broke streaming records. But that would have naturally been done because Netflix was someone who streamed it, and they gave
it was free.
For free. Which big shout out to Netflix for doing that for free.
Yeah,
sort of for free. I mean, you pay $10, and I definitely didn't pirate the fight. Anyway, moving on. UFC 309. Wow.
Which I, for context, did not watch. I was busy yesterday.
Okay, I've seen.
The only thing I watched was the end of the Jones versus
I watched
Miocic fight.
I watched the other 3 fights, as in the 3 fights people care about. No disrespect to the other fighters, but I only really want to spend my time watching because I'm busy. I want to spend my time watching the fights I care about. And these fights were the Bo Nickel fight, the Charles Oliveira Chandler fight, the Jones Miocic fight.
Don't even mention the guy that fought Nickel because he
got shit on. I mean, the dude was mauled for 3 rounds straight, in my opinion. Yeah, Bo Nickel didn't throw as many strikes as Paul Craig, and Craig isn't a bad fighter by any means. Like, let's get this straight. Who 7 fights into your career can state that they have fought in championship contenders in the past, or were seen as championship contenders in the past? I guess you could say Pereira, but Pereira already fought in kickboxing a lot, so it's a little different. But yeah, I just want to say big up Bo Nickel for taking a fight against somebody who is 17-9, even though he did maul him. I mean,
Bo Nickel had a better percentage of total strikes as well as significant strikes. Overall less. Yeah.
And it looked like that while you were watching the fight. Like Bo, like you could, like, I don't know if people understand this, but when you look at a fight and somebody's hitting and it looks like a way harder strike, like that should be counted heavier than like a pit pat.
Right.
And that's just common sense. And then Oliveira and Michael Chandler, a lot of more casual fans may not understand that grappling is half the sport, and if you take up half the sport, it's no longer the same sport. So obviously he threw less strikes, okay, and he landed less strikes, and he landed less percentage wise too. He did have more significant strikes, let's put it that way. He had more significant strikes landed, and he also had 5 more takedowns than Michael Chandler, and he had 2 submission attempts, which, by the way, one of those submission attempts, in my opinion, was close. Looking from the perspective of somebody who has trained these sports,
12 attempted takedowns is insane. Holy shit.
Yeah, so I mean, and Michael did nothing to stop them, and Michael only had, I think I was watching the fight and I saw Michael try to take Oliveira down once and then gave up because it's Oliveira. I mean, like, you shouldn't be trying to grapple with Oliveira unless you're like Islam Makhachev. What are your thoughts on that, Henley?
Like I said, I didn't really watch the fights, but yeah, I mean, dragging him the distance, 5 out of 12 takedowns when Chandler did 1 attempt. You can definitely see why they gave it to him, especially if he was just drowning him all night.
Next fight, I want to talk about Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I mean, who was even surprised? Okay.
Yeah, when I pulled up literally this morning, I was like, oh yeah, that fight happened last night. I pulled it up on Google. I pulled up UFC 309. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. There was no surprise. The
biological differences is insane from the age of 37 to 42. 42. like past the age of 40, it's been known, and even 39, that most guys who are in this sport, yes, exactly, you fall off. Tony Ferguson, for example, massive reason, right? Like massive example. Donald Cerrone, another massive example of you hit this age and you suck. And I'm not, this isn't disrespect, this is just facts. I mean, you can't argue with this, right? Name the last time Ferguson won a fight. Wait, that was 8 fights ago. Yeah, so you hit this age and you fall off. You saw this with Stipe Miocic, in my opinion, the best heavyweight of all time for now. And no, John Jones will never be taking that title because he will never fight an actual heavyweight worth fighting. I mean, he didn't fight Francis. He fought Ciryl Gane, but Ciryl Gane wasn't really a heavyweight champ. Ciryl Gane lost to Francis. So don't even go there. And everybody and their dog knows Jones has been dodging the Aspinall fight. So I mean, and it was just sad watching the end there. I mean, Miocic didn't even look like he, you know, I mean, let's be honest here. Miocic did it for the money, and that's all.
Now he can go back to fighting his fires.
Exactly. Anyway, my overall conclusion for this fight weekend, it was shit. And it was always going to be shit. I don't know why anybody had any hype.
Not surprised.
I mean, literally, who thought Jake Paul was ever losing that fight? I mean,
whether you think it was rigged or whether you think Mike Tyson is still is just an old man now, you know, it was only ever going to go one way.
And it's just, I mean, sad to see a legend like that go. But he got $20 million, so I'm not sad at all, actually.
He is probably doing just fine.
Yeah,
and we got to see his ass cheeks.
Exactly, mooning the whole crowd. Pay me $20 million to get in the ring with Jake Paul. I'd do it in a heartbeat. And I'd have a chance of beating him too. Unlike Mike Tyson. Anyway,
he looked much better in training than he did actually fighting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think he got a training injury and he couldn't push the fight back anymore because of something in the contract, and so he had to fight him, and that's what happened. Anyway,
Jake Paul is the greatest boxer of all time.
Yeah, he actually got called out by a Berbatov or whatever.
Call out Muhammad Ali from the grave.
The light heavyweight champion of the world called out Jake Paul to fight him for the title. If I was Jake, I would be screaming in my seat to take that fight because he probably won't get that opportunity again. And he'll probably lose. I'm not gonna lie, by probably he will lose. He's not that good yet. And everybody likes memeing on Jake Paul. I'll say this again. Everybody likes memeing on him. But if you look at boxing and you look at boxers, they don't actually have real fights till they're in their 21st fight, 22nd fight. I mean, this is just fact.
He's taking the tomato cans route to get a good record before he goes anywhere.
Well, they all do that, right? Like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. I mean, we can point out all the greats. They all do it. Well, not all the greats, but the more of the greats that we grew up watching. That's what they did. And yeah, UFC 309, again, expected everything to happen that happened. And yeah, I'll end this off on one thing, and I'll let Henley end it off too. This weekend, if I was to state it in one word, unsurprising.
Yeah, I'd probably use the same word. Sleepy. Sleepy is a good one. Unless you're talking about the prelim fights. Those were...
Yeah, those 3 fights were good. I'd say the Bonecco fight was good. I'd say the Oliveira fight was good. The others, nudge them to the side. Okay.
Unsurprising.
If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button and the like button. Helps out a lot. And share with your friends. Helps the channel out immensely. And thank you all for watching all the way through. Remember, junk it out.